if you look at the listings, if you look at the birth pains of both Matthew and Luke, you realize that they have similar listings to the four horsemen. I love to say five horsemen of Revelation, but of the four horsemen, you realize that they actually have similar similar they actually have similar characteristics to the four horsemen. And let me just let's just go to Revelation chapter 6. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were a noise of thunder, one of four beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he sat on him a bow and arrow, and a crown was given unto him. He went forth conquering and to conquer. Now, a lot of people, and this is how good this gentleman is that this is a false Christ. This is a false Christ. Could be the false Christ, the Antichrist. I personally don't like to use the word Antichrist because the only time the word Antichrist is used in the Bible is in First John chapter 2, and it's used twice in First John chapter 2. Maybe it could also be in First John chapter 4. Anyway, it's used twice in John's first epistle, and it is not referred to the man of sin, but it's referred to people that were part of the church but left the church. It also refers to people who deny that Jesus is Lord or Jesus came, one of the two, because John was dealing with Gnostics at the time. But then we label the beast, we label the Assyrian, we label the idol shepherd as the Antichrist for one reason or the other. It's become so common in our language that I have to use the word Antichrist so that you know who I'm referring to. Excuse me. But then you look at this false Christ. He is so good that he's also deceived scholars to believe that this is actually Jesus Christ, when indeed he's not Jesus Christ. Let's just look at a few things, a few characteristics about this gentleman riding a white horse. He is a rider coming in his own name. We can look at John chapter 5. John chapter 5 and verse 43. Technology sometimes glitches. He is a rider that comes in his own name. Jesus says, I am come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not. If any other shall come in his own name, he shall be received. And so that's technically what's going on with this gentleman that's riding a white horse, is that he is received because he comes in his name and not in the Father's name. He's on a white horse. He's not Christ. And the reason why you should understand that he is not Christ is because this happens after Jesus himself opens the seals. It does not make sense for Jesus to open the seals and come out of the seals. I know there are certain places where Jesus's locality is all over the place because he is God. For instance, with the 7 churches, it is described that he is in the church, but he holds the church with his nail-scarred hands. That's a place where he's in 2 places at once. But this does not apply. This does not apply. This does not apply to. This does not apply to this gentleman riding a horse because he is coming from the seal. He's not. Jesus is the one opening the seal and has authority over the seal, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that soon. And so he is not Christ. Christ is the one that's coming from the seal. He resembles and he imitates Christ. He is called by the 4 living creatures. He is called forth by the 4 living creatures. The horses are used to designate judgment. Let's talk about the bow that he has. In Hebrew, it's a sheth, and in Greek, it's a toxon. It is believed to be a tool of archery, but according to the law of first mentioned in the Bible, it is a token of a covenant. And we can look at that in Genesis chapter 9, verse 13. So Genesis chapter 9, verse 13, I'm pretty sure we are familiar with this, but let's just go through it so that we are all we're at the same place. So I do set my bow in the clouds. This is a rainbow, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. That's God making a covenant. So it seems this gentleman who is coming on a white horse, who is coming on a white horse, could be coming towards this, could be coming to set a covenant with the world, because in the Bible, the first time that something is mentioned is usually the most significant mention. And so let's just jump into Amos chapter 2, verse 15. So Amos 2 and verse 15. Neither shall he stand that handles the bow, and he that is swift of the foot shall not deliver himself, neither shall he that rides the horse and deliver himself. Very telling, if you ask me. So it seems that this gentleman that's coming forth is coming to imitate Christ and is coming to establish a covenant with the people, with the earth. Let's just go to Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. Again, another familiar scripture, because I just hinted to the 70 weeks. And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the weeks he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abomination he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured unto the desolate. And so, if indeed this is the false Christ, we should understand that the enforcement of his covenant seems to include a return to temple sacrifice. And just like Antiochus Epiphanes, who established a covenant and broke it, this gentleman, and this is where Jesus says, if you see the abomination of desolation, same thing with Antiochus Epiphanes. He will establish a covenant and he will break it. It also says that he has a crown. Or rather, a crown is given to the White Horseman. And this is Stephanos, which is in Greek. This is the victor's crown, usually a prize given to a victor at a public game. It's not the diadema, which signifies kingly authority. And so this gentleman who is conquering, and he's going to conquer. The word used is Nikeo, which means to overcome, to conquer, to prevail, and to get the victory, to conquer, to prevail, and so on and so forth. And so you have an image of a man who is coming out of a white horse. He's here. He's here to establish a covenant, but he's going to break that same covenant. There are implications of temple worship with the covenant that he's going to establish. He's given a crown, but this is a crown because he is a man that is to conquer. Let us go to Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25. We are going to exercise our Bible today. Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25. And through his policy also he shall cause crafts to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many, and he shall also stand against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And so you can see that this gentleman will start out as a peacemaker with the covenant of peace with Israel. The rider ultimately is the prince that shall come. There are 33 titles of him in the Old Testament, and interestingly, that is the number of Freemasonry. And there are 13 titles of him in the New Testament, which again is 13 is an important occult number. And I always love to say this because it's just a fun game that I like about the placing of this in the book of Revelation, is that if you go to Revelation 13, an occult number, and you go to verse 18, which is 6 plus 6 plus 6, you have the number of his name. Now, when it comes to we always talk about one person when it comes to the Antichrist, but we should understand that there are two guys. There's a political leader and there'll be a religious leader or a false prophet. You can find that in Revelation 13, and we'll get to it. Another question you'd ask is the guy alive today? How do we know if the guy is alive today? The answer to that question is yes. And the reason why I say that is that Satan obviously has had a guy waiting for on the wings from Jesus's ascension. And there are various ways in which you can look at it. You can look at the king of the worldly empire at the time as this guy Satan has put forth. You can look, there are very, very many ways that you can look at this guy. But since the ascension of Jesus, there have been guys waiting on there's always been a guy waiting on the wing until one prevails and will be so charismatic that Israel receives him. We are going to wait until he is revealed. And what's funny is that the devil is a planner. He is a planner. Because if you think about this, whilst the children of Israel were in captivity, were in Egypt rather, he filled the promised land with giants for 400 years. And so now the question is, why wouldn't he be prepared for his ultimate ruler? And also think about all the types and shadows. Nimrod, Ahab, Antiochus Epiphanes, Nero, Titus Vespasian. You can talk about Hitler. You can talk about whom you'd like to talk about. Muhammad too. And for certain people, the Pope, the various popes that have been in power. Paul even says that the desolation works today. He's working today. Let's talk about wars and rumors of wars. We have the red horse. Back to Revelation chapter 6. Back to Revelation chapter 6. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they shall kill one another, and there was given a sword unto him, and there was given unto him a great sword. Let's talk about wars and rumors of wars. I would like to talk about a few. I would like to talk about what's happening in Psalm 2. I'd also like to talk about the campaign at Armageddon. And I would like to talk about the Magog invasion. If you can allow me. So let's talk about Psalm 2, because this is the most interesting war that exists in the Bible. It's man's war on God. And it's a very hilarious psalm because it talks about God laughing. It's hilarious and scary in the sense that God is laughing, but he's not laughing because it's humorous. But it's like, what are these these significant things trying to do. So let's go to Psalm chapter 2. And here, just so you know, we have a privy to the Trinity talking. So it starts, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from them.